Millions of Americans, as you know, are addicted to opioids. Tens of thousands die from ODing on them every year. This is the worst drug crisis in American history by far. But there is another addiction crisis going on that gets no coverage at all. Tens of millions of Americans are hopelessly addicted to their electronic devices, specifically to their smartphones, their online video games, and lots of other things that big tech has gotten rich on. It's a big deal. Dr. David Hill is chair of the American Academy of Pediatrics Council on Communications and Media, and he says that smartphone addiction is a crisis for our society. Dr. Hill joins us tonight. Doctor, thanks for coming on. When you say it's an addiction, in what sense do you mean that? I mean, it's clearly an addiction in that the average person checks a phone 70 times a day, but in a clinical sense, is it addictive?
Yeah, I don't think anybody would say that it's addictive, Tucker. In fact, the DSM-5, the current statistical manual that psychiatrists use, specifically carve out that there's not really a diagnosis called tech addiction. Now, there are a couple of diagnoses that they think are worth investigating, and those are problematic internet use and internet gaming disorders. Those sorts of problems are thought to affect up to maybe 8%. The numbers differ from 4% to about 9 or 10% of American youth. But whether that's an addiction in the same way that opioid is an addiction, you're looking at about 116 Americans killed every day on average by opioids. Nobody would say that cell phones are killing 116 people a day.
Of course not. But are they degrading our society? Are they making it difficult for people to continue linear thoughts, to read books, to concentrate? And I know DSM definitions change over time. Would you say it's a compulsion? It certainly seems to meet that threshold.
You know, anything that gives us instant pleasure is something that we can become dependent on. And at the point that we're ignoring the other needs that we have in our lives to pay attention to these things and get that sort of pleasure, then it becomes a problem. We deal with children, and the biggest problems that we see in children related to smartphone use or screen use are particularly sleep, obesity. There are some concerns about attention. Nobody has proven that smartphones cause ADHD. That's a popular theory, but the science is not out there to really draw that line. There has been a lot of concern about rising rates of depression and anxiety that are coming along at the same time as rising rates. There's an author, Jean Twenge, who's worked on that, and her argument is that the phones came first, then the psychiatric problems, so maybe the phones caused the psychiatric problems. But I think more conservative researchers would stop at least one step short of that. And you're aware of this distinction between correlation and causality. Most people see a very strong correlation, but I don't know that most experts in the field are quite ready to jump to causality.
I know a lot about the correlation between a lack of research and not really knowing what the truth is. I don't think there's been a lot of research on this thing, which is ubiquitous in our society and wasn't 10 years ago. I mean, I don't know why we don't know more, I guess, is the question. We're almost out of time, but do you have a thought on that?
Many of my friends and coworkers are working on this issue right now. The research is burgeoning, but it takes a while to do a good study. And the technology is moving fast. And so once you get a study in the bag, the technology has evolved right away from you. But I would strongly support more money dedicated toward research, because this is huge.
Well, it's changed everything, and we haven't paused to think about how. And I hope that we will. Doctor, thank you. Good to see you.
Thank you.
The CEO of Facebook, Mark Zuckerberg, is testifying in Capitol Hill tomorrow. Fox, of course, will be covering that testimony live tomorrow afternoon. We hope you'll watch. We will be. Well, the Boston